Okay. Let's talk about the advantage of going to a small university. There are a lot of them. In my opinion and in my experience. First, the small class sizes. I could ask as many questions as I wanted every single day. Classes felt more like a conversation than they did a lecture, and it was just like high school. Like, I think my biggest class that I had at Augustana was maybe 60 kids, 50, 60 kids, and the biggest one I had in university was 412 at the U of A. And there are courses that get way bigger than that at the U of A. Because the classes were small, I could build relationships and have access to my professors whenever, wherever. They're all very caring people at Augustana. Camrose has built a phenomenal community, and my professors were there for me. They were available, and they truly did help me when I needed it. So that was very, very important. And then for me, in the educational sense, if I don't have a respect for you as a teacher, in that I see you care about me learning, I see you care about the content, and I see you care about working on your craft to become a better teacher, then I'm just going to do what I need to do to pass your class. Thankfully, I had a lot of genuinely great teachers with relationships. Great teachers who I had great relationships with, and that allowed me to thrive in an academic sense. That was very helpful as well. I'm going to speak to this more through everybody else's experience because I didn't actually go through it, but a lot of the people I knew at Augustana did research. So if you're looking for research opportunities during your undergrad, maybe a small university isn't a bad idea. Augustana specifically, University of Alberta, Augustana Campus. U of A degree, much more manageable size campus, much more manageable pace of schooling. Well, that depends. Augustana has a 3 and 11 week split. And I don't know if that's still going on or if it's 14 weeks now. But when I was there, you'd take 1 or 2 courses in the 3 week and then 3 or 4 courses in the 11 week. And it was interesting, but it was manageable. Things outside of academics that was great about Augustana. I told you, there's 18,000 people in that town, in Camrose. There's nothing to do. So Friday, Saturday nights, you best believe Augustana's gymnasium is popping. And especially if like the sports are either good or well involved in the community, it's tiny in there. So it gets loud. And my boys, my girls, my peers, my people that I spent years with get belligerent. And they enjoy their sports. Like, we enjoy our sports. So coming into Augustana, even their field, like, some of my best memories in first and second year is supporting girls soccer. It was awesome. It was awesome. So the community there is very tight-knit. They're very pro each other. And it's a great place to learn and grow. I truly enjoyed that. STEM courses at Augustana, in my perspective. Discussion is encouraged, bro. It does not feel like a lecture. It feels like a conversation. There's 30 kids. You're allowed to speak up. You're allowed to ask questions. It's fun to learn. You know, I enjoyed school. I enjoyed going to classes. There really isn't a toxic environment in the STEM field at Augustana. Once again, we were all suffering through it together. So why would we be awful to each other when we could just help each other through it? One person, great example of this, her name is Danny, and that's all you need to know. She was older than us. We were in her group for OChem, and like literally I was suffering. OChem made me want to die every single day, and Danny enjoyed, for some reason, she didn't enjoy it probably, but she went through it, taking all us dumb first and second years and walking us through it as a fourth year. She didn't know more than us, but she knew how to learn better than we did. And she taught us. She got us through the year. It was incredible. So that type of relationship is common at such a small facility. Like I said, easy to access professors and office hours. And it feels like a high school in terms of size and the relationships you can form with your teachers. Biology specifically at Augustana. No. Biology specifically Augustana and the University of Alberta. So at the U of A, the coolest biology courses I took were Biology 221, Mechanisms of Evolution, and my teacher was Mr. Hack, Haeke. And what else did I take at the U of A? Marine Biology, Biology 361. The professor for that I'm not going to tell you because I didn't like her and it was awful. But the course was awesome, super interesting. CHRTC 350, Science and Religion, Christian Perspectives, that was taught by Mr. Lamoureux. Very good course, very interesting. And then at Augustana, the coolest biology courses I took, Bio 260, Genetics with Mr. Turzin, Dr. Turzin, sorry. All these people are doctors. My bad. Bio 338, Developmental Biology with Dr. Turzin. Bio 395, Vertebrate Biology with Dr. O'Day. But I had to dissect a cat, so if you have trigger problems, maybe don't take vertebrate biology. Bio 438, Evolutionary Developmental Biology with Dr. Turzin. And then Biology 411, History and Theory of Biology with Dr. Hove. Very awesome. The hardest courses I had to take, like I said, I struggled my way through English 102, Critical Reading and Writing. I'm not going to say the professor's name, but if I ever see you, it's on site. Genuinely. Ruined it. My entire experience. OChem 250, Organic Chemistry 1 with, I'm not going to tell you the professor's name. He was a great professor, great at his job. I'm just an idiot. OChem made me want to die. Bio 230, Molecular Cell Biology with Dr. Hove. Great teacher. I've never had a course with so much content. I had microbiogenetics and OChem 1 in the first semester of my second year, and I've never felt so mentally assaulted. It was awful. Awful. But had to get through it. Biology 274, Microbiology. Interesting stuff. Very boring. Very memorization heavy. It was brutal. I didn't enjoy it. The content is interesting in theory, but learning it day to day was brutal. And stats 215. I'm not a math guy. I did not do well in stats. So those are my courses that I took, my experiences with those. Now let's talk about other people's experiences, because Keaton's experience isn't the only one that matters. So, remember, at Augustana, I was in a Bachelor of Science in Biology. Now, we're going to talk about my boy, Greg Kaliel. Okay? If you want to imagine Greg while you listen to what he has to say about Augustana, think about Caillou, but 40 years older and just built like a brick house. So, Bob the Builder, not Caillou. Now, take away all the Bob the Builder clothes. Nice NAVC volleyball, Augustana Vikings pants, big shoes, okay? That's Greg. So Greg, he took physics and math while playing volleyball at Augustana. He played 5 years of collegiate volleyball, and Greg was a force in the classroom. So in terms of the educational environment, Greg says Augustana is cooperative. There was very few people in the program, so the professors were always available for extra help, and peer cooperation was common. The workload, he says it's feasible if you're playing a sport or you're working a job to obtain a physics and math degree at Augustana, and that's coming from somebody who had at least 3 hours dedicated to his sport each day on top of his academic requirements. Greg didn't say that, I said that. Greg did also say that it would have been harder to complete in 4 years because he completed his in 5. And it's important for me to tell you that physics and math is no longer offered at Augustana. That's what Greg told me. So his class was the last class to graduate from that faculty. Workload, I just talked about that. Future employment. Greg was really focused on volleyball, and he says he has yet to look into many programs for his future, but he says he most likely would have gone...
Can you repeat that in English?
But he says he most likely would have to go to grad school to find a job in his future career. To find a job that becomes a future career in his field, which is math and physics. Okay, now Tyler Weenink, biology and chemistry. Tyler has been on the show before. He also went to Augustana. He played 5 years of collegiate basketball, and Tyler is an academic weapon. He, in first year, would fall asleep in our bio courses and just get better grades than me, and he would be asleep the whole time. It frustrated me, bro. Anyways, educational environment. Tyler, like I said, he studied bio and chem, so this goes across both of those. He says overall the educational environment was cooperative. He found most people realized the environment that we're in, and they were mature enough to understand that we're working together for the benefits of everybody involved. Workload, taking a biology or chemistry degree while playing sports is feasible, Tyler says. He also says he definitely would have struggled to do it in 4 years, so he's glad he took 5. The extra year gave him the extra time he needed to achieve the grades he wanted while not getting burnt out or depressed. He says there were times he struggled with burnout, but that's where the cooperative nature of Augustana really helped pull him through. And he thinks it's possible to do the degree in 4 years, but you'd have to be really motivated and finding the balance between academics and sport or academics and work. If you're working full-time, would be very difficult. Future employment, Tyler says in his experience, opportunities for research were not super easy to come by. He was lucky enough to build a good relationship with a professor, and he's also really disgusting in the classroom. Like, Tyler has a really, really good average. I said that, Tyler didn't say that. This allowed him to become a research assistant, and he wasn't even aware that that was a thing, like an option, until his 3rd year of university. Tyler said the biggest thing his degree did for him is it prepared him for becoming a doctor by allowing him to develop problem solving and critical thinking skills further. A lot of the information he learned isn't necessarily applicable to being a doctor, but his degree helped open his mind and gave him great skills that will help him in his future career as a doctor. But after all that blurb, he said, basically what I'm trying to say is the degree gave me the skills I need to pursue a career in medicine. And that is true. Tyler's gone through all his application process, and we're still waiting. My boy is going to be literally cutting it up. I'm not going to put that in there. My boy is going to be going crazy in a surgeon outfit. In a couple of years. It's going to take him a while. Lastly, so we've heard from Greg, physics and math. We've heard from Tyler, biology and chemistry. Now we're hearing from Evan. Evan Richard, psychology. He also graduated from Augustana. He played 4 years of collegiate volleyball and had academic success. Evan was also very intelligent. He says the educational environment, Augustana psychology was not competitive. It was very cooperative because of the small class sizes. He says it's very intimate in the sense that he knew all of his classmates and at least some detail of their lives, and he had really engaging professors. Workload, Evan says it's definitely feasible with athletics or a job compared to other majors except biology majors. They were just dramatic. I left that in there. He lived with me and Tyler, and we complained all the time because our stuff was difficult. If you don't get off, stop talking smack, Evan. I swear, after my English professor, you're next. If I see you in the streets, it's on site, okay? Bio is hard. Jesus. He says the Augustana Psych degree was mostly project-based and scaffolded, so he could easily plan out his process from the day you get your syllabus, which is syllabus day 1 of school. More so, the content is emotionally heavy as opposed to study heavy. There's lots of content that deals with super depressing topics, which can be super hard on the students that are learning them. In terms of his future employment, Evan says he feels like his degree really prepared him for his current role, by putting him in spaces where empathy was common and conditioned you to difficult topics. In terms of research, he never did any psych aside from term papers, and that was pretty basic, but never once did one of his professors actually critique his articles. So, overall, we all said the same thing. Augustana is nurturing. It's a good environment to learn in. There's lots of room for opportunities if you build the right relationships and you talk to people. And university is hard. It doesn't matter where you go, it's going to be really difficult. That's why I'm saying, in my personal opinion, think about that small campus. Because if you can make those connections, bro, it's really easy to get through. It's not really easy. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But we did it. Okay, I'm going to go take a leak and then we're going to record the second part of this episode. That part one, that was a mess. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I hope you enjoyed it as well. This second part, we're focusing on the Faculty of Education at the University of Alberta. I was only a part of this faculty for 2 years. I took 4 courses in STEM at the U of A, and 2 out of the 4 of them were interesting and engaging as well as being well taught. That was Bio 221, Mechanisms of Evolution and Conservation Biology 367. 2 of them were interesting but not well taught. That was Plant Science 221, which was online, and Biology 361, and that is Marine Biology, which was in person. Okay, so in my experience at the University of Alberta, the STEM faculties have a very competitive nature, and in my opinion, a toxic educational environment. This is not all courses, okay? These are just the experiences that I had, and I only took 4 of them, okay? In these courses, I had between 100 and 400 kids in each class, so discussion or question asking was not encouraged, not during the class. Like I said, the class sizes are massive. The professors are really hard to reach, and their office hours are available. But the hardest part about that is finding their offices, because the U of A is huge and it's crazy. Because there's up to 400 kids in these classes, there's little to no relationships that are being built between the student and the teacher. And for me, that's just like essential to my learning process. So it didn't really service me being at the U of A and not having access to my professors in that way. I would say more so than less. There are more teacher-centered lectures, and communication with your peers is encouraged in the Discord model. So the average STEM student that I found on Discord seemed to be extremely entitled and disconnected from other experiences outside of their faculty. And they were extremely grade driven. So like, for example, I would see people asking questions for clarification, or I would see people asking questions about way things are graded. And a lot of the response, most of the time, would be, that's the model, figure it or move on. And it's like, in my opinion, that's not what learning is. We all learn very, very differently. We have to find different ways to get to the same place. So I really didn't enjoy not having lots of access to my teachers to ask questions, plus then the people that I could ask questions, half the time I needed to be worried about whether or not they were going to make me feel like an imbecile. And I didn't enjoy that. It was not fun. The TAs, which do a lot of the grading and stuff, can be hit or miss, and I'm sure that's true about most universities and most undergraduate lectures. Sometimes you have one that's incredible, and sometimes you have one that sucks, and that's just life. There are quality teachers at the U of A in the STEM fields, but the physics faculty and other STEM teachers, in my opinion, could genuinely really benefit from taking courses on how to educate other people. They're all professionals in their subject, right, but only some of them are decent teachers. And For example, in my marine biology class, this is what every single multiple choice question on all of the tests look like. And that's the only way we were assessed, because there was no lab, was the tests. Here was an example of a question. What's the ocean composed of? A, water. B, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and other elements. C, marine life. D, all of the above. E, none of the above. And that was every question. A, B, C. C is always all of the above. D is always none of the above. And in my opinion, I understand that the questions do test our content knowledge. You need to either 100% know it or you're done. But in my opinion, it encourages us how to learn how to take standardized tests as opposed to focusing on how much of the content knowledge we actually have. I argue that short and long answer formats of assessment do a much more holistic job of assessing my knowledge of the course content. So I thought my biggest gripe of my STEM experience at the U of A was that they didn't have any papers. They didn't have any group work. It was either you knew word for word the answer on this multiple choice test or you did not. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. Advantages to the U of A, a couple of them, and the U of A is a really good school. They have access to cutting edge facilities in STEM, nursing, and medicine. Somebody told me, and I don't know if this is true, but apparently the Gamma Knife... What the frick, bro? I muted that. They told me that the Gamma Knife that's at the Alberta Children's Hospital, which is the one at the U of A, is the only one in Alberta, and maybe even Canada. So cutting edge technologies. Recognized as one of the top 3 engineering programs in Canada. And now imagine if the professors actually knew how to teach the students. Anyways, there were 4 out of 5 in the top 5 rankings of biology in Canadian institutions. So it was a tough program, and the people who were there for the whole thing, I respect you. Jackson, I respect you. Renee, I respect you. Megan, I respect you. I can't believe you guys got through that, because I was only there for 2 years and it was brutal. Ranked 5th of the top 5 institutions in math. I have nothing to say about the experience, but they're nice at math. Ranked 87th out of the top 800 faculties of education in the entire world. The U of A is a really good school, but there's 40,000 kids. It's a commuter school. It's very, very interesting. So there's lots of things to consider when we're talking about if you want to go to the U of A or not. So, the education faculty renewed my love for learning. 80 to 90% of the teachers that I had in these 2 years are incredible at their job. They're smaller class sizes, averaging 30 to 40 students. The largest class I took was 110 students. It was much more manageable. You built relationships with your teachers and your classmates. References for jobs were easily available with professors that you built a repertoire with and, you showed an interest. Some of the most in-demand educators in Alberta have ties to the University of Alberta, so the education faculty is genuinely a very good faculty. The educational practicum in secondary education, because that's the one that I did, was extremely well done in my opinion. I went from telling my friends last summer that I was nowhere near ready to teach kids to being an accomplished, in-demand, pre-service teacher within 14 weeks of classroom instruction. And that's a crazy flip, and my learning process has just started. I am not anywhere close to being a great teacher, but I am confident in my ability to become a great teacher after my 14-week practicum. Continue to become. Some of my favorite professors in the Faculty of Education at the University of Alberta, if you're interested in taking their classes. Dr. Dwayne Donald, a teacher educator, Indigenous knowledge holder. He teaches a wide variety of classes at the university, so look him up. David Chorney, He's a physical education specialist. He taught me outdoor education with children. It was one of the best classes I've ever taken and so much fun. Carrie Rose, she's a general sciences specialist in the education faculty. She prepared us for our IFX programs and provided an excitement for education that encouraged us to show up and participate in her class. Lorraine Lastuca, she's also a general sciences specialist. Again, she really prepared us for our AFX, which is the second practicum, and incentivized us to be physically and mentally present in her class. Daryl Hunter, he's an educational law specialist. Teaching and Law Ethics, which is EDPS 410 with Daryl Hunter, was the best course that I took during my teacher preparation program, in my opinion. It was extremely interesting, really fun, and it showed me what I can and cannot do and why. And that was just, it was practical. It was one of the only ones that was actually like really, really practical. And then lastly, Brooke Madden. She's an Indigenous educator in the educational faculty. One of the most informative and useful courses that I took was her EDPS 112, I think it is. The Indigenous Education Introductory course. It taught me all of the gaps in my knowledge that I still have concerning the Indigenous peoples of Canada that were never explored in my K-12 search, in my K-12 educational journey, not in social studies. They taught us like this much, that much is what happened. And for the audio listener, I went little to big. Okay, complaints that I have about the educational faculty. Number one, you'd think that a teacher preparation program would teach you how to apply to school boards. If my peers and I weren't desperate to get jobs, we never would have figured this stuff out in time. You guys need to fix that. In a teacher preparation program, literally the most important course, one of them I would argue, is teaching us how to apply to get the jobs that we're learning to get right now. But maybe that's crazy. The stand and deliver... Wait, sorry. I'm skipping. No. Not a single course about the financial side of education or dealing with emergencies or the everyday emotional work and toil that comes with the job. A course where practicing high school teachers come in as guest lecturers and answer our questions, in my opinion, is essential in the future. Because it's great having educators that are been in the field for 55 years, but when they haven't been in a high school class since 1995 and they're like, well, this is how you do it, it's very tough. Very tough for us to sit there and be like, yeah, that is how you do it, when in reality, you are a fossil and haven't seen the inside of a classroom in, like I said, 35 years. Kids change, the times change, the people that are teaching us about how to teach the kids also need to be involved in the process every single day. While most educators in the faculty are great at their jobs, 60 to 80% of them have been... Oh, I already said that. My gripe is with the fact that the teachers are using outdated curricular, technological, and societal knowledge. So they may have the pedagogical knowledge, understand how to teach us and how to teach kids, but the curriculum has changed. The technology we need to use in the classrooms and in the admin stuff, printers, Power School, etc., has changed. And the society that we learn in has changed. So having this person who is, living in the 80s, because those were the great times of their generation, trying to connect with us and teach us how to teach kids and what to teach kids and, what technology to use to teach kids is really tough when it's like, my phone keeps binging. How do I stop it from binging? Excuse me, sir, why are you teaching me Educational Technology 100 when you don't know where the slide thing is on your iPhone? I'm just saying, it's wild. Okay, but overall, the U of A is a great school. It has a great educational environment, and for the students whose drive is to learn, the U of A is a great choice. Okay, but you need to consider First things first, the last thing I just said. If you're going to university to learn, the U of A is a great school. In my experience, I'm not saying they didn't happen, the U of A is not a party school. Kids go there to learn. We don't move to Edmonton to have the time of our lives. We move to Edmonton to get smarter. Okay? You also need to consider the class size. U of A classes are massive. The stand and deliver lecture format. The U of A, it happens a lot there. Educational faculty was a lot better, but in other faculties I've heard that's kind of what it is. You need to be internally motivated to succeed at the U of A. You need to be internally motivated to succeed in post-secondary in general, but my experience at the U of A in those huge classes, it's a lot harder to get the support externally. There's lack of a community at the U of A due to the university population size. There's 40,000 students, and the U of A Reddit is just the same thing. I have no friends. Like this post if you want to be friends. And then they message each other, and then they don't actually start being friends. It's really hard for people to meet other people, and that's why I really didn't enjoy that shift. Because I went from Camrose, being 10 minutes away from all of my best friends, to one of my best friends that lives in Edmonton is a half an hour drive away. I go to the same school as the guy, and I literally don't see him. It's crazy. In my experience, the U of A was a community university. If you didn't live on campus in your first 2 years or first year or do many extracurriculars, chances are very high it's going to be tough to meet people. Because in my experience, and I know this is true for every direction in Edmonton, I lived in the south and it was brutal. I had to take an hour and 15-minute bus ride to get to school. And that's only if my buses are there on time. If I'm coming back from school and I miss the 2 buses that go to the south of Edmonton where I live, then, oh no, I have to wait another 45 minutes to an hour because they only come every 45 minutes to an hour during peak service. It's crazy. So for the kids that live in St. Albert or Spruce Grove or Sherwood Park, like I imagine it's even worse. Edmonton transit is kind of wild. I know every city has a drug problem, and a lot of the homeless population gravitates towards the public transit system, but especially near the university in Edmonton, the train is absolutely wild. I witnessed a whole host of physical altercations, someone smoking a crack pipe at 9 a.m. when I was on the way to one of my finals, lots of attempted robberies that didn't go very well because it was just a bunch of dummies doing it. So, like, Edmonton Transit needs to step it up in terms of making their students want to take public transit to school. The buses were a lot better, but like I said, the train in downtown and up to the university is insane. So, if we're talking about my university experience, if you're coming out of high school and you're worried, you shouldn't be. You're going to be alright. It's going to be an adjustment. The learning curve from the classes that you're taking in high school to the ones you're going to take in first year is very high. You're going to fail. You might not actually fail any courses, but you're going to fail assignments. You're going to fail exams. What's important is how do you respond. What's important is what is the support system that you have around you looking like. And what's important is how much do you love what you're doing. Because for me, basketball was hard and I was depressed at the start, but I loved it. I got through it. Biology was very hard for me at the start, but I loved it. I got through it. Chemistry, I loved it, but I didn't love it as much as bio. That's why as soon as I could, I stopped taking chemistry classes. But all of it was very hard, and I got through it because of the passion that I had. And then education, I want to get paid to teach kids every single day. So it was really easy to go to these classes and be like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. How can I be the best possible person for that job as soon as possible? So the ed faculty was less difficulty, more difficult in the fact that I had a lot of busy work. And not busy work as in I shouldn't have had to do it. Busy work as in there was just, in education, there's a lot of work for you to do. In STEM, there was a lot of studying and labs and assignments for me to do. In education, there was a lot of reading and a lot of papers and a lot of assignments for me to do. So if you're worried about the next level of education, regardless of what faculty you're going into, my advice to you genuinely is to go to the school, go on a tour, sure, but then after that, go walk around with your family if you want, with friends, even better to make you feel a little safer. The campus, if you can, and ask the students. Be like, bro, can you take 5 minutes and share this donut with me and tell me about your experience? Because the one thing I learned about university students, exactly like I've done for the last hour, we want to complain. It's awful, and we don't get to complain about how awful it is very often. So if you're like, hey, I'll give you a pastry and take 5 minutes of your day if you tell me what you love and hate about this experience and what you're doing, that's how you learn if the school you're going to or the faculty you're going into is the one for you. For me, I knew what I wanted to study. I wasn't worried about it. I learned these things late. Like, I didn't make the realization I wanted to do biology or education until the first semester of grade 12. But I learned. And for those of you who are in general studies and it's year one, you're like, I don't know what to do. Either take general studies for another year and try more stuff outside of what you've tried, or maybe go travel and get some life experience and figure out, oh, I love to volunteer, I love to help people, maybe I should take a career in counseling or psychology so I could be a social service worker, etc., etc. Because there's a bunch of jobs that need people that don't get attention because people just float by, take a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Business, and they don't know what they want to do, and then they're like, I didn't use my degree. I know it's tough to gamble a year of your life away. I know it's tough to say, I can't go to university now because I don't know what I want to do, so I'm going to use this year to find out what I want to do. But it's only tough to do that if you're not willing to put the time and effort in. Because if you're willing to put the time and effort in, you're not wasting a year of your life. You're investing in your future. I told my coach that I coach with at the high school I was doing my practicum at that going to university was a gamble for me, because going into the trades like my best friend, one of them did, and he's got a mortgage and he's engaged and he's doing well, is guaranteed money, like almost right away. And he was like, it wasn't a gamble. What are you saying? It was an investment in your future. And I'm sitting there with a bill with lots of zeros coming from this institution and saying, yeah, whatever, old man, you don't have to pay off this loan. But now I get where he's coming from, because university made me smarter. It taught me how to live, made me more empathetic. It allowed me to grow. It was a great chapter in my life. And boy, am I glad it's over. If you have any questions and you're thinking about universities, or you're doing the application process and you're like, I don't know what to do. I did it in 2018, so it shouldn't be that different. I can only probably help you with in Alberta applications, but DM the Fork in the Road Instagram. Or if we're friends, just text me, DM me, and I'll help you out, because that was one of the hardest parts about university, is applying all of the paperwork. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it was informative for the kids that are going into school. I hope you all enjoyed the NBA Corner if you skipped out on the rest of the episode, and I'll see you when I see you. That's the fork. I've put it in the road. It was even better the second time. I'm so glad I doubled down.